bringing the people behind our food to life.
And today we're going to can some pears. Fruits are easy to can, they're wonderful to have in the winter, and I've already started some of the steps so you can see that, but basically you want a nice fresh Bartlett, ripe but not overly ripe, ready to be peeled. And then after I peel it, take the stem out. Oh. I'm going to cut it in half right down the middle. And then it has this little bit of stem here and the seeds are in the middle, and I find a melon baller is very handy at this stage. And I'm going to just take out that piece. And then if you can just pull the rest of the stem membrane that's a little bit leathery. And of course the little stem end here. And then that's ready. Put in your ascorbic acid, and that's just a solution that you can use with vitamin C pills or powdered ascorbic acid. What it does is prevents the fruit from darkening, and it'll stay nice and bright and very pear-like in the jar and look very beautiful. All you need is a clean jar and a hot jar. Since this is going to be processed in boiling water for 25 minutes, we don't need to sterilize our jars anymore. Dump that out. So first of all, I'm going to put the fruit in. And with pears, you want them to be arranged so that you can get as many as possible in the jar. And this is a hands-on, so clean hands, of course. And these pears are so big, it looks like I'm going to have one whole pear and maybe a quarter and fit those right in there. And what you want to do is be sure and have a ½ inch of headspace, which is necessary for processing. So then your wide mouth funnel fits right on that, and here on the stove I have on simmer sugar and water. And you can make this syrup with any amount of sugar and water you want because it's not the preservative. It is, sugar helps the fruit maintain its shape. So this is about 6 3/4 cups of water and 3/4 cups of sugar. And then with a ladle, you're just going to take that over to your pears. And it doesn't take much syrup if your jar is full of pears. Okay, that's about a ½ inch. When you first get started, sometimes you might even need a ruler. And then with some sort of instrument, this is actually an official bubble remover, but I've been known to use chopsticks or anything. What you want to avoid is a sharp knife that you could, at the bottom of the jar, you don't want to be hitting metal because you could crack your jar and then you lose all your fruit in the processing. And so what this does is remove any bubbles that when you pour it in that syrup, traps air at the bottom, and then during processing, the air comes up and it might force the fruit out of the jar and under the lid, and then you have a seal that fails. And then after you've moved the bubbles, you just take a cloth, wipe the rim just in case any fruit or sugar are up there. And then I have my lids in hot water. Put on your lid, put on your ring, and you twist it down till you just hit resistance and then just a little bit further. And then another piece of essential equipment is the jar lifter. And what this has is a nice rubber, secure coating on the gadget, and it grabs that jar very securely, and then you just put it in your can of boiling water. Sometimes we call it the cauldron. There's always a rack on the bottom. And the key thing with a canner is, we're only using pint jars, but let me show you what you want is when the jar is sitting in the canner, or a big soup pot, whatever big tall pot you have, that the water is at least an inch boiling over the top. And so sometimes you want to say, okay, my jar plus 2 inches. Put your water in because you want it totally be able to boil with at least an inch of water over the top of the jar. So our jars of pears are in the canner. The water has come to a boil, so it's time to put on the lid and then set the timer for 25 minutes. Okay, our time is up. It's time to take our jars out of the canner. Now, always be sure that you take your lid off, facing away from you. And with your very handy jar lifter, your jars are then put on a towel, and you let them sit for 12 to 24 hours until they're completely cool without touching them. And that's pears.